So you notice that I'm wearing teal today? That's because Sexual Assault Awareness Month is April. So that's this month, the day that I'm recording this anyway. And so what I want to do this month is I'm going to shift gears. We've been talking a lot about employment law. That's still the area that I practice law in and do mediation in. But sexual assault awareness is one of the projects that I like to be engaged in. It's because I'm a survivor. I'm Nancy Schick of 30-Year Conflict Resolution, and I take a holistic approach to workplace dispute resolution in part because I know that there are a lot of employees out there who are like me. They're struggling with sexual assault recovery and other types of trauma. In fact, I was recently featured in a book that was just released on trauma-informed law. If you're interested in that, you can look it up. It's through the American Bar Association. But I want to use this video to go through 3 sexual assault myths because we still have a lot of misperceptions out there about sexual assault. The first one is that sexual assault is about sex. Just like sexual harassment, it's primarily about control. And people don't always realize that. And so when you think about it, it might seem like it wasn't that big of a deal physically. Maybe they weren't, violently assaulted and bleeding and went to the hospital. But that control and the loss of control as a victim definitely has an impact. And it's something, again, to be aware of if you're an employer or you're a loved one, bystander, et cetera. There's what we call vicarious trauma. And being aware of that when you're dealing with people will help you be more effective in your communications with them. So myth number 2 is, we still hear this one, that if victims didn't fight back or they didn't fight back hard enough, they must have wanted it. It must not have been that bad. But we forget that people have different responses to trauma. Depending on, like me, I was a victim of multiple traumas. And so I'm in the victimology book because in part I was, and I speak to classes about this because I was a polyvictim, right? I had a series of crimes where I was a victim. And so my response was to freeze and just kind of resign myself to, okay, this is happening. I don't know how to get out of it. So I'm just going to mentally check out until it's over. And we forget that sometimes that's a very natural human response in a situation we don't know how to deal with. Myth number 3 is that victims lie about being sexually assaulted. Yes, it does happen, but it only happens about 2 to 8% of all reported sexual assaults. And we know that there's a high concentration of sexual assaults that are underreported. We estimate at least 50% of them are not reported at all, and only 2 to 8% could be lies or contain lies. And that's tracking about the same as all other crimes. So it's human, and we still have to look for the liars, right? And we don't want to unjustly prosecute someone, but it's very unlikely that someone who's been accused is the victim of fraud. Now, if you're interested in more information about Sexual Assault Awareness Month, I invite you to go to the website for National Sexual Violence Resource Center. And that is nsvrc.org. I'll put a link in the notes to the video. And in the meantime, take some of this forward and keep listening with your third ear for those hurts you can heal.